world yearning for justice. Have you ever felt it? That deep, gut-level feeling that something in the world is just not right. You see it in the headlines. You hear it in the heated debates online. You might even feel it in your own community. A sense of imbalance, of unfairness. It's a feeling that can leave us feeling powerless, angry, or disconnected from one another. We see a world fractured by division, where every issue seems to have two warring sides, no room for common ground. What if I told you that this feeling, this yearning for fairness, is not a modern symptom of our troubled times? What if, instead, it is one of the most ancient and unifying threads of the human experience? What if the keys to healing our modern divisions were hidden in plain sight, within the very traditions that are so often blamed for creating them? Across centuries and cultures, a timeless call for justice echoes. It's a call that invites us to find fairness, not just in our laws and institutions, but within the landscape of our own hearts. It whispers that the work of building a more equitable world begins with us. This is an invitation to explore that sacred call together, to see how ancient wisdom can light our path toward a more just and compassionate world right here, right now. The universal cry for fairness. This cry for justice is a fundamental human instinct. It's the child in the playground who declares, "That's not fair." It's the citizen demanding accountability from their leaders. It's the quiet voice inside us that recognizes the inherent dignity in another person and recoils when that dignity is violated. This isn't a political or a modern invention. It's a spiritual one. It is woven into the very fabric of our being. In the Jewish tradition, this is captured by the word *Tzedek. It's often translated as justice or righteousness, but it's more than that. It's a moral obligation, a divine command to create a just and equitable society. It's not about charity from a place of superiority, but about creating a world where charity is no longer necessary. Similarly, in Islam, the concept of adl asterisk, or justice, is a cornerstone of faith. The Quran describes it as a fundamental attribute of God and a core responsibility for every believer. It's a divine balance that must be reflected in all human affairs, from the courtroom to the marketplace to the family home. And in the Christian Gospels, Jesus consistently champions the cause of the poor, the marginalized, and the oppressed, framing justice as an inseparable part of loving one's neighbor. This universal cry, expressed in different languages and concepts, points to the same truth. we are built for fairness, echoes in a polarized world, and yet we live in a world that feels profoundly unfair. The gap between the rich and the poor widens. Social divisions seem deeper than ever, and our public discourse is often filled with more heat than light. We scroll through our feeds and are bombarded with stories of inequity, of oppression, of systems that seem rigged to benefit the few at the expense of the many. It's easy to feel overwhelmed, to believe that the forces of division are winning. This polarization is real, and it's painful. It can make us feel isolated, as if we are shouting into a void where no one is listening. We retreat into our own tribes, surrounding ourselves with those who think and believe as we do. But this is where the ancient wisdom offers a surprising perspective. It teaches us that the intensity of our modern conflicts is not a sign that justice is a lost cause. Rather, it's a sign of how deeply we all care about it. The passion we see on all sides of a debate, however misguided or angry it may seem, often comes from a place of perceived injustice. Someone feels that their rights, their dignity, or their way of life is being threatened. The problem isn't that people have stopped caring about fairness. It's that we have stopped agreeing on what fairness looks like and have stopped listening to each other's cry. Ancient wisdom for modern challenges. This is where the sacred texts of our traditions can serve not as weapons for division, but as bridges for understanding. They are not dusty, irrelevant relics. They are living documents that speak with startling clarity to our most pressing modern challenges. When we feel lost in debates about economic inequality, we can hear the voice of the prophet Isaiah from the Hebrew Bible, who declared, "Learn to do good, seek justice, correct oppression, bring justice to the fatherless, plead the widow's cause." This isn't just an ancient command, it's a practical roadmap for social action. When we witness legal systems that seem to favor the powerful, we can turn to the Quran, which instructs believers. O you who have believed, be persistently standing firm in justice, witnesses for Allah, even if it be against yourselves or parents and relatives. This is a radical call for impartiality, a reminder that true justice must be blind to personal bias and privilege. It challenges us to build systems that are fair for everyone, not just for our own side. These scriptures don't give us simple policy prescriptions, but they do something more important. They give us a moral compass. They anchor our modern struggles for legal, social, and economic fairness in a timeless spiritual framework. They remind us that the fight for a better world is not just a political endeavor, it's a sacred one, finding common ground. When we begin to look at our traditions through this lens, we discover something beautiful. Beneath the surface level differences in doctrine and ritual, there is a profound and powerful common ground. The shared pursuit of a more equitable society is a space where different faiths can and do meet. The call to uphold human dignity, to care for the vulnerable, to act with compassion, and to build communities of solidarity is a message that resonates across religious divides. We see this in the prophetic voices that have risen up throughout history. Figures like Mahatma Gandhi, who drew on Hindu principles of nonviolence to challenge colonial oppression, or the Reverend Doctor, whose fight for civil rights was deeply rooted in his Christian faith. They understood that their spiritual life was not separate from their public call for justice. It was the very source of it. This common ground is our greatest source of hope. It shows us that we don't have to agree on everything to work together on the things that matter most. We can stand side by side as people of different faiths and no faith to build a world where every person is treated with the dignity and fairness they deserve. Our shared humanity and our shared yearning for justice is the foundation upon which a more equitable world can be built, an invitation to the journey. This is what this series is all about. It is not a lecture, but an invitation to a journey of contemplation and discovery, a chance to step back from the noise of our polarized world and listen for the quieter, more ancient wisdom that resides within our traditions and within ourselves. Over the coming chapters, we will explore these themes more deeply. We will look at what justice means for the earth, for our economies, for our communities, and for our own inner peace. We will draw on the wisdom of the Bible, the Quran, and other sources of spiritual insight, not to find definitive answers, but to ask better questions. This is a journey for everyone, regardless of your background or your beliefs. It is for the person of deep faith, for the spiritual seeker, and for the skeptic who simply believes we can do better. It is an invitation to find the common ground that already exists beneath our feet, and to discover how these timeless principles of justice, compassion, and equity can become a living reality in our lives and in our world. We are so glad you are here. Reflection: the yearning for justice is not a source of division, but a sacred shared human experience that connects us all. It is a timeless echo that calls us not to argue about our differences, but to build a better world from our common ground. Intention for tomorrow. I will look for one small opportunity to practice fairness, whether in my thoughts, my words, or my actions. Let's begin by finding a comfortable posture. Whether you are seated in a chair, on a cushion, or lying down, allow your body to feel supported. Soften your shoulders, letting them fall away from your ears. Slow your breath, inviting it deep into your body, and with each exhale, let go of the day's tensions. Just for a moment, simply arrive in this present space, this present moment. As we settle into this stillness, let's gently turn our awareness to the idea of balance. Picture a perfectly still lake, its surface reflecting the sky with perfect clarity. This is the state we seek within ourselves, not an emptiness, but a profound stillness that allows for true perception. It is from this quiet, centered place that we can begin to explore our theme for this session: the deep, intrinsic connection between our own inner peace and the world's desperate need for fairness. This isn't about abstract philosophy. It's about a lived reality, a principle echoed across spiritual traditions. The work of justice in the world is inseparable from the cultivation of peace within a heart that is turbulent, anxious, or filled with judgment struggles to act with the clarity and compassion that true justice requires. So tonight, we are accepting an invitation to find that quiet center, that inner equilibrium from which all true and lasting fairness can flow. Tomorrow, I will practice listening to understand, not just to reply. At the heart of many spiritual paths lies the understanding that our outer world is a reflection of our inner state. A mind cluttered with haste, fear, or resentment will perceive a world rife with threats and division. An action born from such a mind, even with the best of intentions, can often create more discord than harmony. To act justly, we must first learn to be still. This stillness is the soil from which right action grows. In Jewish tradition, this concept is beautifully captured by the word shalom, while often translated as peace. Its meaning is far richer, suggesting wholeness, completeness, and tranquility. It is a state of inner and outer harmony. Similarly, in Islam, the concept of Sakinah or divine tranquility is a gift that settles upon the heart of a believer, bringing peace and reassurance. This isn't a passive state. It is a source of profound strength. The Christian scriptures speak of a peace that surpasses all understanding, a divine calm that guards the heart and mind, allowing one to navigate the world's challenges with grace and fortitude. This inner equilibrium is our foundation. Think of an archer. To hit a distant target, she cannot be shaking. Her breath must be steady, her mind focused, her body in perfect balance. Only then can the arrow fly true. In the same way, when we seek to bring fairness into the world, we are the archer. Our intention is the arrow. But if our inner self is not steady, if we are shaken by anger or distracted by our own ego, our arrow will miss its mark. Cultivating this inner stillness is therefore not a retreat from the world, but the most essential preparation for engaging with it meaningfully. Once we begin to cultivate this inner stillness, we become more receptive to the timeless wisdom that guides us toward a better world across traditions. We hear a clear and consistent call to a life of integrity. It's a call that asks us to align our inner state with our outward actions. One of the most powerful expressions of this comes from the Hebrew prophet Micah, who asks a profound question. What does the Lord require of you? Answer is not elaborate ritual or grand sacrifice, but something beautifully simple and deeply challenging. To act justly, to love mercy, and to walk humbly with your God. This triad of virtues, justice, mercy, and humility forms a complete ethical vision. To act justly is to ensure fairness in our dealings, to uphold the rights of others, and to create systems that are equitable for all. It is the structural component of a good society. But justice alone can be cold, even harsh. That is why it must be paired with mercy. The Hebrew word for mercy, hesed, implies more than just forgiveness. It speaks of steadfast love, loving kindness, and deep compassion. It is the relational glue that holds a community together. This same divine pairing is found at the heart of Islam. The Quran calls believers to stand firm for ***, or justice, describing it as a core divine principle. Believers are instructed to be just, even if it is against themselves or their own families, showing its impartiality. Yet two of God's most essential names are Ar-Rahman, the entirely merciful, and Ar-Rahim, the especially merciful. The call to embody **Rama**, or mercy, is woven throughout the scripture. Justice provides the bones, but mercy provides the heart. Together, they create a living, breathing ethic that calls us not just to do the right thing, but to do it with the right spirit. This beautiful harmony of justice and mercy is not meant to remain an abstract ideal. It is intended to be lived, to be made real in our communities. The peace we cultivate within ourselves, our personal Shalom, or Sakinah is the very energy that fuels the creation of a peaceful and just society. The two are not separate. They are deeply intertwined. A community cannot know harmony if the individuals within it are consumed by inner turmoil, and an individual will struggle to find lasting inner peace in a society that is fundamentally unjust and chaotic. Our inner state inevitably ripples outward. When we are centered and calm, we are less likely to react with anger in a disagreement. We are more able to see the humanity in those with whom we differ. This creates a space for dialogue and understanding, the foundational elements of a harmonious community. When we are guided by an ethic of mercy, we are more likely to forgive, to help a neighbor in need, to welcome the stranger. These small, personal acts of compassion are the threads from which a strong and caring communal fabric is woven. The pursuit of communal harmony, then, begins with the individual. It begins with the choice to respond to a difficult situation with patience rather than frustration. It begins with the decision to treat every person we meet with dignity, recognizing the divine spark within them. As we each commit to this inner work, we contribute to a collective shift. We become, in the words of the Christian Gospels, peacemakers, those who don't just avoid conflict, but actively sow seeds of reconciliation and understanding. Our personal peace becomes a public offering, a gift to the world we share. So, how do we begin to practice this? How do we translate our inner stillness and our ethical commitments into concrete action? Perhaps the most powerful and immediate practice is also the simplest: listening. Not just hearing words, but listening with an open and compassionate heart in a world filled with noise, where everyone is broadcasting their own opinions. The act of truly, deeply listening to another person is a radical act of justice and mercy. To listen compassionately is to offer someone the gift of your full presence. It is to set aside your own agenda, your own rebuttals, your own story, and to create a safe space for them to share theirs. This is especially critical when we listen to those who are often ignored or silenced, the marginalized, the grieving, the oppressed. The Christian scriptures show Jesus consistently stopping to listen to people whom society had cast aside. In doing so, he affirmed their dignity and worth when no one else would. This is a form of justice, the justice of being seen and heard. The Quran, too, emphasizes the importance of being attentive to the needs of others, warning against turning away from the orphan or the person in need. This requires an initial act of listening, of paying attention to their circumstances. When we listen with a compassionate heart, we build a bridge of empathy. We begin to understand the world from another's perspective. This understanding dissolves prejudice and opens the door to collective action. Before we can act justly, we must first listen deeply. Before we can love mercy, we must first listen with a merciful heart. This is our starting point. True fairness begins not in grand gestures, but in the quiet equilibrium of our own hearts. When we cultivate inner peace, our actions naturally begin to resonate with mercy and justice for all. In the quiet halls of justice and within the dense pages of our law books, we search for a clarity we can rely on, a system of fairness that is both predictable and profound. Our legal systems, with their scales and blindfolds, strive for an impartiality that feels essential to a functioning society. Yet, this modern quest is not new. It echoes a conversation that has spanned millennia, one found in the heart of ancient scriptures. These texts invite us to consider a justice that is not only about rules and consequences, but about mercy, dignity, and the active protection of the vulnerable. They challenge us to look beyond the letter of the law to its spirit, asking what it truly means to create a just world. This is not merely an academic exercise or a historical curiosity. It is a living call to see fairness as a sacred duty, a vital spiritual practice in the complex landscape of our modern lives. Tomorrow, I will look for one small opportunity to stand for fairness, whether in a conversation, a decision, or in supporting someone who is vulnerable. Nearly 3,000 years ago, the prophet Micah stood before his community and distilled a complex system of rituals and laws into a simple, powerful question. After asking what God truly requires, he answers not with a list of sacrifices, but with a revolutionary ethical framework. He has shown you, O mortal, what is good. And what does the Lord require of you? To act justly, and to love mercy, and to walk humbly with your God. To act justly, asterisk in Micah's vision, is far more than simple legal compliance. It is a proactive command to create righteousness in the world. It means treating every person with equity, ensuring that our actions, personal, professional, and political, contribute to to a society where fairness is the foundation. This ancient call speaks directly to our most pressing 2025 legal debates. When we discuss systemic inequality, environmental protection, or the ethics of artificial intelligence, we are wrestling with Micah's mandate. The prophetic definition of justice demands that we examine not just whether an action is legal, but whether it is fundamentally fair and protective of the common good. But Micah's formula is a three-part harmony, and justice does not stand alone. It is immediately paired with the call to love mercy. The Hebrew word for mercy here, hesed, implies more than just forgiveness. It is a steadfast, loyal, and compassionate love. This teaches us that true justice cannot be cold or mechanical. It must be relational, infused with an understanding of human frailty and a deep-seated desire for restoration over retribution. It insists that our legal frameworks must have a heart. This call for a justice rooted in something deeper than self-interest finds a powerful echo in the Quran. In a remarkable passage from Surah An-Nisa, believers are given a directive that strikes at the very core of human bias. O you who have believed, be persistently standing firm in justice, witnesses for Allah, even if it be against yourselves or parents and relatives. This verse presents a profound challenge. It asks for a radical impartiality that transcends our most fundamental loyalties to ourselves, our families, and our communities. The instruction is to stand for *kissed*, or absolute equity, even when it costs us personally. This is a justice that is not swayed by wealth or poverty, by affection or animosity. It is a recognition that fairness is a divine principle, and our role is to be its faithful witnesses in the world. Our testimony in life, whether in a courtroom or in our daily conduct, is ultimately a testimony for God. This principle is built upon the Islamic concepts of *adl and *kissed*. While *adl refers to a broader sense of justice and righteousness, *kissed* points to the precise, impartial equity required in our dealings with one another. The verse challenges us to untangle our personal inclinations from our moral duties. It asks us to consider, in any given conflict, are we defending a position because it is true or because it is ours? The Quran's answer is clear. Truth and justice have a sacred claim on us that must precede all others. If our highest spiritual ideals call for a justice tempered with mercy and free from bias. How do we translate this into the practical, often rigid world of law? Every legal system faces the tension between the letter of the law asterisk, its explicit written rules, and the spirit of the law asterisk, the underlying purpose of fairness and order it was meant to serve. Religious traditions have navigated this tension for centuries, offering wisdom on how to balance structure with soul. In the Christian Gospels, Jesus often critiques a legalism that honors rules while harming people. When challenged for healing on the Sabbath, he asks, asterisk, which is lawful on the Sabbath, to do good or to do evil, to save life or to destroy it. He consistently places compassion and human dignity, the spirit of the law, above rigid adherence to its letter. This doesn't abolish the law, but fulfills its deeper purpose. A similar principle exists in Jewish thought. The concept of asterisk pikuach nefesh asterisk, which holds that saving a human life overrides nearly all other religious commandments, is a powerful example. It establishes a clear hierarchy of values. The preservation of life is a supreme goal that gives context to all other rules. The law is a tool for honoring life, not an end in itself. In Islam, the scholarly tradition of asterisk Maqasid al-Sharia explores the higher objectives of divine law, such as the preservation of life, faith, intellect, and property, ensuring that legal interpretations serve the ultimate welfare of humanity. Embracing the spirit of the law naturally leads us toward a justice that seeks not just to punish, but to heal. When mercy and compassion are integrated into our understanding of fairness, the goal of the legal process begins to shift. It moves from a narrow focus on retribution toward a wider vision of restoration for victims, offenders, and the community as a whole. This approach is beautifully captured in the modern movement of restorative justice. Instead of asking only what law was broken, who broke it, and what punishment they deserve, restorative justice asks, who was harmed? What are their needs? It is a process that brings together those who have caused harm with those who have been affected, creating a space for dialogue, accountability, and repair. This model, now used in schools, communities, and even some court systems, is a direct application of the ancient wisdom to love mercy. This is not a call for a weak or sentimental justice. True compassion is not about excusing wrongdoing, but about having the courage to address its root causes and mend the broken relationships it leaves behind. It reflects the Jewish balance of *Tzedek, justice, and Hesed, loving kindness, recognizing that both are necessary for a healthy society. It is a justice that is strong enough to hold people accountable and compassionate enough to believe in their capacity for change. When we view justice through this lens as an active, compassionate, and restorative force, it can transform our understanding of the legal profession itself. For many, a career in law can feel like a high-stakes game of winners and losers. But what if it could be seen as something more? What if it were a vocation, a spiritual calling to serve the common good? The Jewish concept of *tikkun olam *, which means repairing the world, offers a powerful framework for this idea. It posits that humanity is a partner with God in the ongoing work of mending creation's fractures. From this perspective, the work of a lawyer, advocate, or judge is not just a job. It is a profound act of social and spiritual responsibility. It is an opportunity to fight for the marginalized, to shape fairer policies, and to help restore balance where it has been lost. This sense of sacred duty is also central to the Islamic concept of *Khalifah*, or stewardship. This teaching holds that humanity has been entrusted by God with the care of the earth and the establishment of a just society. Upholding justice is therefore a core part of this stewardship. Legal work becomes a vehicle for fulfilling a divine trust, ensuring that society is managed with the fairness, equity, and moral integrity that this responsibility demands. Seen this way, the law is not just a profession. It is a practice, a path for contributing to a more whole and healed world. The call for justice echoes from ancient texts into our modern lives, revealing it as a dynamic, living principle. It asks not only for impartial rules, but for compassionate hearts, urging us to build a world that reflects fairness, mercy, and dignity for all. In our interconnected world, the ripples of our economic choices travel farther than we can see. As the cost of living continues to rise for so many, the gap between having enough and having too little feels more pronounced than ever, leaving many feeling anxious, insecure. It's a modern problem that can feel overwhelming, yet it is not new. For millennia, our spiritual traditions have wrestled with this very challenge. The Torah, the Bible, and the Quran offer a shared, countercultural vision of economic life, not of scarcity and competition, but of fairness, communal responsibility, and radical generosity. They don't just suggest we be kind to the poor, they command that we build societies where poverty struggles to take root. These sacred texts remind us that justice is not an abstract ideal, but a practical, daily commitment to ensuring everyone has a place at the table. Today, we explore this ancient wisdom. How do these teachings challenge our modern assumptions about wealth and consumption? How do they inspire us to build an economy of compassion in our communities and in our own lives? The book of Deuteronomy presents a radical blueprint for a just society, one where economic policy is woven directly into the fabric of spiritual life. It understood that without intentional systems, the vulnerable would inevitably be left behind. Its laws weren't just about encouraging individual acts of charity. They were about embedding generosity into the very structure of the community. Consider the practice of gleaning. Deuteronomy 24 instructs farmers not to harvest their fields to the very edge, nor to go back for a forgotten sheaf of grain. These leftovers were to be left for the stranger, the fatherless, and the widow. This wasn't a handout, it was a right. It ensured that the most vulnerable had a dignified way to feed themselves, participating in the harvest, receiving sustenance directly from the land. Similarly, the law of the tithe, especially the third-year tithe, commanded that a tenth of all produce be set aside and stored within the towns. This created a communal fund, a sort of ancient social security system, to support the Levites, the stranger, the orphan, and the widow. It was a tangible, recurring commitment to the well-being of the entire community, ensuring no one fell through the cracks. These principles may seem distant from our world of global supply chains and digital transactions, but their spirit is more relevant than ever. What does it mean to glean in a society where few of us are farmers? It means looking at the abundance and waste in our own systems and redirecting it to those in need. Modern gleaning looks like food recovery programs that rescue surplus food from restaurants and grocery stores to supply food banks. It looks like policies that incentivize corporations to donate excess inventory rather than destroy it. And what is the modern equivalent of the sabbatical year when all debts were to be forgiven? This was a powerful mechanism to prevent the cycles of generational poverty that debt so often creates. Today, its spirit lives on in movements for fair lending practices, in calls for student debt relief, and in community funds that offer interest-free loans. These ancient laws challenge us to see the modern wealth gap not as an unfortunate outcome, but as a direct result of systems that lack a built-in commitment to justice and release. They invite us to ask, have we forgotten to leave the edges of our fields for others? The Quran offers a complementary perspective, focusing on the internal disposition that drives economic injustice, the unrestrained desire for consumption. It speaks powerfully against *israf*, a term that means extravagance, wastefulness, and exceeding the proper bounds. In Surah Al-Isra, it warns that the wasteful are brothers of the devils, a stark reminder that our resources are a trust from God, not a personal treasure to be squandered. This teaching directly confronts the engine of modern consumer culture, which constantly tells us we need more to be happy, secure, and successful. The Quranic vision calls for moderation and contentment. It asks us to find a middle way, neither extravagant nor stingy, but holding a balanced path. This isn't about asceticism, but about a mindful and grateful use of resources. Furthermore, the Quran strictly forbids consuming wealth unjustly. Surah Al-Baqarah warns, "Do not consume one another's wealth unjustly." This applies to everything from fraudulent business deals and exploitative lending to bribery. It challenges us to examine not only how much we consume, but how our wealth is generated. Is our comfort built on the unjust labor of others? Does our convenience contribute to the exploitation of people or the planet? The principle of *israf* calls for a profound audit of our economic lives, aligning our spending with our spiritual values. Both Judaism and Islam institutionalize the practice of generosity, transforming it from a voluntary impulse into a foundational pillar of a just community. In Judaism, *Tzedakah is not simply charity. The word itself is derived from the Hebrew root for justice or righteousness. Giving to those in need is not seen as an act of magnanimity, but as a duty, an act of restoring the fundamental justice of the world. It is an obligation to ensure that the community's resources are distributed in a way that allows all its members to live with dignity. Similarly, *Zakat is one of the 5 pillars of Islam, an obligatory annual donation of a percentage of a Muslim's wealth. It is not a mere tax, but an act of worship, a way of purifying one's wealth and acknowledging that everything belongs to God. Zakat funds are used to support the poor, the indebted, and others in need, creating a system of social solidarity and wealth redistribution. that is built into the very practice of the faith. Both Tzedakah and Zakat teach a powerful lesson. The well-being of the community is the responsibility of every individual within it. When these powerful traditions of justice-based giving come together, their impact is multiplied. Across the world, interfaith coalitions are demonstrating what an economy of compassion looks like in practice. In cities and towns, you can find food pantries run by a partnership of a synagogue, a mosque, and a church where volunteers work side by side, united by a shared commitment to feeding the hungry. These collaborations move beyond immediate relief to address the root causes of poverty. Interfaith groups advocate for affordable housing, fair wage laws, and better access to health care. They pool their resources, their moral authority, and their diverse communities to speak with a unified voice for justice. This work is a living expression of the principles of *Tzedakah and Zakat *. It shows that when we recognize our shared humanity and our common call to serve the vulnerable, our different paths can lead to the same vital work, building stronger, more resilient, and more compassionate communities for everyone. Finally, our traditions call us to see our daily work and commerce as spiritual practices. The choices we make as consumers, employees, and employers are all opportunities to build a more just world. The concept of fair trade, for example, resonates deeply with teachings from both the Bible and the Quran. The book of Proverbs states that the Lord detests dishonest scales, a clear condemnation of exploitative business practices. Similarly, the Quran warns against giving less in measure and weight, demanding absolute fairness in all transactions. This commitment extends to the dignity of labor. The Christian tradition views work as a way to participate in God's creation. And the Epistle of James issues a harsh warning to those who withhold fair wages from their laborers. Islam, too, places a profound emphasis on the rights of workers. A famous saying of the Prophet Muhammad urges, "Give the worker his wages before his sweat dries." This is a powerful call for timely and just compensation, recognizing the humanity and effort of the laborer. When we choose fair trade products, support businesses that pay a living wage, and conduct our own work with integrity, we are turning our economic activity into an act of worship. Our traditions remind us that the economy is not a force of nature, but a human creation that can be reshaped by our values. When we root our financial lives in compassion, justice, and shared responsibility, we participate in building a world that reflects the divine abundance available to all. Tomorrow, I will consider one economic choice: what I buy, what I use, or how I work as an opportunity to practice compassion. We all begin our lives with a deep, innate connection to the natural world. The feeling of cool grass under our feet, the warmth of the sun on our skin, the sound of rain. This connection is a fundamental part of our human experience. Yet, as we navigate our modern lives, it's easy to forget that this bond is not just a source of comfort, but also a profound responsibility. The impacts of our changing climate are not felt equally across this beautiful planet. It is a crisis that weighs heaviest on those who have the least across diverse faiths. A powerful and unified call to stewardship and justice emerges, urging us to protect both our sacred creation and the marginalized communities who are disproportionately harmed by its degradation. This is not a new conversation, but an ancient one made urgent for our time. The wisdom traditions of humanity have long understood that the health of the earth and the well-being of its people are inextricably linked. They teach that our relationship with the planet is a reflection of our relationship with the divine and with one another. When we see land, water, and air merely as resources to be exploited, we also risk seeing people as instruments for our own ends. Conversely, when we view the earth as a sacred trust, we are moved to act with greater compassion and justice toward all its inhabitants. This is an exploration of that sacred trust. Our spiritual traditions do not see two separate duties, one to God and one to the earth, but a single, interwoven calling. To be a guardian of creation is to be a defender of the vulnerable. In protecting our shared home, we are answering a profound moral and spiritual call that echoes through the ages. Tomorrow, I will notice one simple way I can honor my connection to the earth and its most vulnerable inhabitants. We will listen to the echoes of ancient scriptures in today's climate crisis. Discover how shared values can build powerful alliances for change and reframe climate action not as a political burden, but as a core, spiritual, and moral imperative for our generation. It is a call to become what we were always meant to be: guardians of the earth, in the ancient texts of the Hebrew Bible, the book of Proverbs offers timeless wisdom on the nature of a just society. It is a collection of sayings less about abstract theology and more about the practical, ethical, and righteous way to live. One of its most persistent themes is the moral obligation to defend the poor and the powerless. Proverbs 31:8 instructs, "Speak up for those who cannot speak for themselves, for the rights of all who are destitute." This is not a gentle suggestion. It is a command to lend our voices to the voiceless, to advocate for those who have been pushed to the margins now. Let's bring that ancient command into the year 2025. Who are the destitute, the voiceless, in our modern world? Increasingly, they are the climate refugees, families, and entire communities forced from their homes by environmental changes they did little to cause. Rising sea levels that swallow coastal villages, prolonged droughts that turn fertile farms to dust, and superstorms that obliterate everything in their path. They are farmers in the Sahel, fishermen in Southeast Asia, and families in low-lying island nations. They have lost their homes, their livelihoods, and often their hope. They are, in the most literal sense, unable to speak for themselves on the global stage where decisions about climate policy are made. The wisdom of Proverbs challenges us to see their plight not as a distant humanitarian issue, but as a profound moral failure. When Proverbs 14:31 states, "Whoever oppresses the poor shows contempt for their Maker, but whoever is kind to the needy honors God," it directly connects our treatment of the vulnerable to our relationship with the divine. In the context of the climate crisis, oppression isn't always an active, malicious act. It can be the passive oppression of indifference, of continuing a way of life that we know displaces others, of ignoring the consequences of our consumption because we are insulated from its immediate effects. To honor God, the proverb suggests, is to act with kindness, generosity, and justice toward those most in need. And today, that includes the climate refugee. A similar and equally powerful message resonates from the heart of the Islamic tradition, which warns against the human capacity to disrupt the world's natural harmony. In the Quran, a powerful verse in Surah Ar-Rum declares, "Corruption has appeared throughout the land and sea by reason of what the hands of people have earned. So he may let them taste part of the consequence of what they have done, that perhaps they will return to righteousness." The Arabic word for corruption here is ****, and it describes a profound disorder, a spoiling or decay that throws a system out of balance. For centuries, scholars interpreted **** as moral and social corruption, injustice, greed, and conflict. But contemporary Muslim thinkers and environmentalists see in this verse a startlingly prescient description of ecological disaster. The pollution of our oceans, the deforestation of our lands, the poisoning of our air. This is *** on a planetary scale. And the verse is clear. This corruption is not a random act of nature, but something earned by the hands of people. It is a direct result of human choices, of actions driven by excess, greed, and a forgetfulness of our proper place in the world. This warning, however, is not meant to inspire despair, but to serve as a wake-up call. It is paired with the foundational Islamic concept of **Khalifah**, or stewardship. Islam teaches that human beings were placed on earth not as its masters, but as its caretakers, its trustees. The planet and all its intricate beauty are a sacred trust from God, an amana ***. Our role is not to dominate, but to nurture, not to exploit, but to protect. The call to return to righteousness is a call to remember our role as stewards. Seen through this lens, the climate crisis is a spiritual crisis. It is a sign that we have neglected our sacred duty as **Khalifah. The Quranic warning about **** is not a prophecy of inevitable doom, but a diagnostic tool. It shows us the consequences of our actions and invites us to change course, to turn away from the path of corruption and return to the path of stewardship, restoring the balance that is so central to the Islamic vision of the cosmos. The challenges of the climate crisis are far too large for any one person or any single community to solve alone. The scale of the problem calls for an unprecedented level of cooperation, one that transcends the boundaries of religion, culture, and nationality. It is here, in the space of collective action, that the shared values of our spiritual traditions can become a powerful force for change. When different faiths come together, they discover that their distinct languages of stewardship, justice, and compassion all point toward the same truth. We have a sacred duty to protect our common home. This is not just a hopeful theory. It is happening all over the world. Organizations like Green Faith and Interfaith Power and Light are building vibrant coalitions of churches, mosques, synagogues, and temples. These partnerships are transforming shared belief into tangible action. In one community, it might look like a joint project to install solar panels on the roof of a synagogue, with volunteers from the local mosque and church helping out. In another, it might be an interfaith community garden that provides fresh, sustainable produce for a local food bank, managed by members of a dozen different traditions. These partnerships do more than just reduce carbon footprints or plant trees. They build bridges of understanding and solidarity in a world that is often fractured by division. When people from different backgrounds roll up their sleeves and work side by side for a common cause they believe in, they build resilient communities. They learn from one another, share resources, and amplify their collective voice to advocate for systemic change. They might co-author letters to political leaders, organize local climate education events, or simply provide a space for people to share their climate grief and anxiety in a supportive, multi-faith environment. This tapestry of action demonstrates that our shared love for creation is a source of immense power, capable of weaving together our diverse strengths into a unified movement for climate justice. Ultimately, the call to climate action is more than a practical or political necessity. For people of faith and spirit, it is a profound moral and spiritual imperative. It is a test of our integrity, our compassion, and our commitment to the very values we profess to hold dear. To ignore the cry of the earth and the cry of the poor is to betray the core teachings that lie at the heart of our traditions. This is not an issue on the periphery of our faith. It is central to what it means to live a spiritual life in the 21st century. In the Jewish tradition, the concept of tikkun olam asterisk, repairing the world, calls for active participation in making the world a more just and whole place. Climate action is a fundamental expression of asterisk tikkun olam asterisk, an effort to mend the deep wounds we have inflicted upon creation. Similarly, for Christians, the mandate to care for God's creation is not an optional extra. Pope Francis, in his encyclical Asterisk Laudato Si, framed it as an essential part of Christian faith, a moral duty to protect our common home and the vulnerable who depend on it. Across traditions, the message is consistent. Buddhism speaks of the interconnectedness of all beings, reminding us that harm to the planet is harm to ourselves. Hinduism reveres the earth as Prithvi Mata asterisk, Mother Earth, and sees its protection as a form of asterisk dharma asterisk, or righteous duty, and many indigenous spiritualities teach that we are part of a sacred web of life, with a reciprocal responsibility to honor and protect the land, water, and air that give us life. To act on climate is to live in alignment with these deep, sacred truths. It is an act of worship, a prayer in motion, and a testament to our hope for a healed and sustainable world for generations to come. In the quiet hum of our daily lives, a new intelligence is at work. It helps us navigate our cities, filters our emails, and suggests what we might want to watch, read, or buy. By now, artificial intelligence is already shaping our world in countless unseen ways, from the job application you submit to the news that appears in your social media feed. It is a powerful tool, one that promises to solve some of humanity's greatest challenges. But as we weave this technology ever deeper into the fabric of our societies, we are faced with profound questions. Our ancient wisdom traditions, from the deserts of Sinai to the gatherings in Mecca, have always called for justice, impartiality, and the protection of the vulnerable. How can these timeless values guide us now as we build machines that make decisions? How do we ensure that the soul of our shared humanity is not lost in the code, and that this new intelligence serves us all with fairness and dignity? Tomorrow, I will notice one hidden system that makes a decision for me. One of the most significant challenges we face is something called algorithmic bias. An AI system learns from the data we give it. If that data reflects the historical biases of our world, our prejudices in hiring, our inequities in housing, our injustices in policing, the AI will not only learn these biases, it can amplify them. It becomes a ghost in the code, perpetuating old harms with new and terrifying efficiency. A system designed to be objective can inadvertently become a vessel for our most ingrained prejudices. The Quran offers a powerful antidote to this. In Surah An-Nisa, it commands believers to be persistently standing firm in justice, witnesses for Allah, even if it be against yourselves or parents and relatives. This is a call for asterisk-kissed, a profound and radical impartiality. It asks us to set aside our personal loyalties and unconscious biases in the service of absolute fairness. What a powerful standard to hold for our algorithms. Imagine designing an AI with this principle at its core. A system that judges based on merit and truth, unswayed by wealth, status, or connections. This call for impartiality echoes powerfully in the Hebrew Bible. The book of Leviticus instructs, "You shall do no injustice in judgment. You shall not be partial to the poor, nor defer to the great. But in righteousness shall you judge your neighbor." Both traditions demand a justice that is blind to the very factors that so often corrupt human and now machine decision-making. They challenge us to build systems that reflect not the world as it has been, but the world as it ought to be, a world where justice is truly for all. Many of today's most powerful AI systems are often described as black boxes. Their decision-making processes are so complex that even their own creators cannot fully explain why a particular choice was made. An applicant is denied a loan. A neighborhood is flagged for increased surveillance. A patient is deemed low priority for a medical procedure, but the specific reasons remain locked inside the algorithm. This opacity is not just a technical problem. It is a profound moral one. Our spiritual traditions are built on a foundation of truth and accountability. The book of Proverbs teaches that lying lips are an abomination to the Lord, but those who act faithfully are his delight. A system that cannot explain itself, that operates in darkness, cannot be said to be acting faithfully. It creates a deficit of trust and makes accountability impossible. If we do not know how a decision was made, how can we challenge it? How can we correct its errors? The Islamic concept of Khalifah or stewardship deepens this call for responsibility. We are entrusted by God as caretakers of creation, accountable for our actions and our inventions. To build machines that operate beyond our own understanding is to abdicate this sacred duty. True stewardship requires transparency. It demands that we build AI systems that are explainable, auditable, and open to scrutiny, so that we can ensure they are operating justly and take responsibility when they fail. Opening the black box is an act of faithfulness, a commitment to the light of truth in an age of complexity. Technology is never neutral. It either reinforces existing power structures or it challenges them. When it comes to AI, the stakes are incredibly high for those who are already on the margins of society. A biased algorithm in a hiring tool can systematically exclude qualified women or minority candidates. A predictive policing model trained on flawed data can lead to the over-policing of already vulnerable communities. Without careful, compassionate design, AI risks becoming a tool that deepens societal divides and further harms those who have the least power to fight back. This is where the heart of our spiritual traditions speaks with a unified and urgent voice. Speak up for those who cannot speak for themselves, commands the book of Proverbs, for the rights of all who are destitute. Speak up and judge fairly. Defend the rights of the poor and needy. The Quran in Surah Al-Ma'un sternly rebukes those who push away the orphan and do not encourage the feeding of the poor. Across faiths, there is an unwavering mandate to stand with and protect the vulnerable. This ancient call to action must become a core principle of AI development. It invites us to embrace a concept from Jewish thought, Tikkun Olam, the work of repairing the world. Building ethical AI is a modern form of this sacred task. It means intentionally designing systems not just to avoid harm, but to actively empower the marginalized. It means asking not only, what is the business case, but also who might be harmed, and how can this technology be a shield for the vulnerable? It is about ensuring that the soul of the machine is programmed with compassion. The challenges posed by artificial intelligence, its complexity, its potential for bias, its societal impact are too vast to be solved by technologists and policymakers alone. The code may be written in Python or C++, but the ethical framework must be written in a language of shared human values. To build AI that truly serves humanity, we need to draw upon our deepest sources of wisdom. This is where interfaith dialogue becomes not just a hopeful ideal, but a practical necessity. For millennia, our traditions have wrestled with the very questions we now face in the context of AI. What is justice? What is the nature of human dignity? What are our responsibilities to one another? What constitutes the common good? By bringing Jewish, Christian, Muslim, and other spiritual thinkers into conversation with AI developers and ethicists, we create a council of wisdom. We can explore how a shared value like compassion, cheesed asterisk in Hebrew, agape in Greek, Rama in Arabic, can inform the goals we set for our technology. This isn't about building a religious AI or rejecting progress. It is about enriching the conversation and grounding our technological future in timeless truths about what it means to be human. It is about ensuring that our quest for artificial intelligence does not lead us away from our own souls, but brings us closer to them. The wisdom is already there, preserved in our scriptures and our communities. We need only the humility to listen and the courage to apply it. Our most ancient spiritual traditions are not obsolete in the age of artificial intelligence. They are essential guides. They provide the moral compass to ensure our technology serves justice, honors human dignity, and helps us build a world that is more, not less, human. In a world of constant movement and change, few stories are as old or as universal as the journey to find a new home. It's a story of hope, of risk, and of the deep human need for safety and belonging. Today, global migration presents one of the great challenges of our time, testing our collective capacity for compassion and justice. It's easy to get lost in the numbers, the headlines, to see this vast human story as an abstract issue, rather than a collection of individual lives. Yet, our spiritual traditions invite us to look closer. Across faiths, a consistent and powerful command emerges to welcome the stranger, to care for the foreigner, and to protect the vulnerable. This shared ethic is not a footnote in our sacred texts. It is a central theme. It asks us to shift our perspective, to see migrants not as a problem to be solved, but as fellow human beings deserving of dignity, respect, and justice. This is an invitation to explore what it means to truly welcome the stranger in our time, a call to move beyond fear and politics, and to connect with the deep spiritual wisdom that guides us toward empathy and action. By listening to these ancient teachings, we can find a moral compass for navigating one of the most pressing questions of our modern world. Tomorrow, I will look for an opportunity to make someone feel seen and welcomed, however small the gesture. The Hebrew Bible, the call to empathy is rooted in collective memory. The book of Leviticus contains a command that is both simple and profoundly challenging. The stranger who resides with you shall be to you as the native among you, and you shall love him as yourself, for you were strangers in the land of Egypt. This isn't just a suggestion, it's a law repeated more than any other in the Torah. The reason given is the foundation of its moral power. For you were strangers. You know the heart of the displaced, because you have been there yourselves. How do we live this command in 2025? Our world is one of passports, borders, and complex legal statuses. The ancient concept of an asterisk stranger living among a tribe has transformed into the modern reality of refugees, asylum seekers, and immigrants navigating bureaucratic systems. Yet, the core principle remains unchanged. To love the stranger as ourselves means advocating for their well-being as if it were our own, ensuring they have access to shelter, food, and safety. It means fighting against prejudice that paints them as asterisk other or less than. Jewish tradition developed concepts like the asterisk jur tashav asterisk or resident alien asterisk, a non-Jew living in the land who was afforded protection and rights. This wasn't just about passive tolerance. It was an active framework for inclusion and social justice. In our time, this principle challenges us to create systems that are not only tolerant, but truly welcoming, systems that recognize the inherent dignity and potential of every person who arrives at our doorstep. Remembering that our own histories are filled with stories of migration and displacement. This call to see ourselves in the other finds a deeply personal echo in the Christian scriptures. In the Gospel of Matthew, Jesus tells a parable about the final judgment, where humanity is separated like sheep and goats. The defining question is not about doctrinal purity or ritual observance, but about how one treated the most vulnerable members of society. He says to the righteous, "I was hungry, and you gave me food. I was thirsty, and you gave me drink. I was a stranger, and you welcomed me." When they ask when they ever saw him in such a state, the reply is one of the most powerful statements in the tradition. "Truly, I tell you, whatever you did for one of the least of these brothers and sisters of mine, you did for me." This teaching transforms the act of hospitality from a simple good deed into a sacred encounter. Welcoming a refugee is not just an act of charity. It is an opportunity to welcome the divine itself. The stranger is not an interruption to our spiritual life. They are the path. This reframes our entire perspective. The tired, frightened face of a person fleeing conflict or poverty is, in a theological sense, the face of God. To turn away from them is to turn away from the sacred. This doesn't make the practical challenges of migration disappear, but it gives us a profound spiritual motivation to face them. It calls for a radical empathy that sees beyond political labels and media narratives, to recognize the divine spark in every person seeking refuge. It asks us to open not just our borders, but our hearts. This idea of a sacred duty to care for the vulnerable is a cornerstone of the Islamic tradition, as well expressed through a structured and communal commitment to charity. The Quran repeatedly emphasizes the importance of caring for the poor, the orphaned, and the traveler. One of the specific categories of people designated to receive aid is the asterisk Ibn al-Sabil asterisk, which literally translates to son of the road. This term beautifully captures the vulnerability of the wayfarer, the migrant, the refugee, anyone who is far from home and in need of support. This support is built into the very pillars of the faith. Zakat asterisk, the obligatory annual charity, is not just a personal act of piety, but a system of social justice. The Quran specifies that Zakat funds are to be distributed to several categories of people, including the poor, the needy, and the asterisk Ibn al-Sabil. This ensures that a portion of the community's wealth is systematically redirected to those who need it most, including new arrivals who have lost everything. Beyond this obligation, the spirit of voluntary charity, or Tzedakah asterisk, encourages a boundless and compassionate generosity. Islamic teachings on hospitality are legendary, rooted in the example of prophets like Abraham, who welcomed strangers without question. This spirit applies directly to supporting new arrivals. It means providing a meal, offering shelter, helping someone find work, or simply offering a kind word and a listening ear. It is a practical, hands-on expression of faith that sees serving humanity as a primary form of worship. When we place these teachings from Jewish, Christian, and Islamic traditions side by side, a clear and compelling ethical framework emerges. It is a framework built on shared values, empathy rooted in memory, the sanctity of the human person, and a structural commitment to justice and charity. This interfaith consensus offers a powerful antidote to the divisive and often fear-based rhetoric that dominates modern discussions about migration. It challenges us to ask a different set of questions. Instead of asking, "What is the cost of letting people in?" our traditions compel us to ask, "What is the moral cost of turning people away?" Instead of focusing on building higher walls, they inspire us to build longer tables. This spiritual perspective calls for policies that are not merely transactional, but transformational policies that prioritize human dignity, family unity, and the fundamental right to seek safety. This is not a naive or idealistic dream. Around the world, interfaith coalitions are already putting these values into action. Organizations like the Interfaith Immigration Coalition bring together diverse religious groups to advocate for humane and just immigration reform. On a local level, synagogues, churches, and mosques often collaborate to sponsor refugee families, provide legal aid, and create welcoming communities. They demonstrate that faith in action is a powerful force for social change. They show us that when we draw from the deepest wells of our spiritual heritage, we find the courage and the compassion to shape policies that reflect our highest ideals. Welcoming the stranger, we discover, is not simply a moral duty, but a profound spiritual practice. It is a measure of our ability to see ourselves in others, to recognize our shared journey, and to answer the call for compassion that echoes through our sacred traditions. We all inhabit a rich and complex inner world, a landscape of thoughts, emotions, and memories. It is in this internal space that we experience so much of life's beauty and its burdens. In our growing awareness of mental health, we face a profound challenge of justice. How do we ensure that everyone has the opportunity to find healing and peace within their own mind? The call to love our neighbor, a cornerstone of so many spiritual traditions, is not an abstract ideal. It is a command to action, urging us to see the needs of others as our own. Do they honor the dignity of every person? This journey is about extending our circle of compassion to include the anxious, the depressed, the traumatized, and all who struggle in silence. It is about recognizing that true well-being, the kind that touches mind, body, and spirit, must be for all, not just the fortunate few. This is the work of building a just and caring world, one mind at a time. The principle of loving your neighbor as yourself is deceptively simple, yet profoundly demanding. It asks us to see the humanity in the person next to us and to desire for them the same well-being we desire for ourselves. In the Christian Gospels, the parable of the Good Samaritan illustrates this with startling clarity. A man lies wounded on the road, and it is the outsider, the Samaritan, who stops to care for him, tending his wounds, paying for his recovery. The story challenges us, who is my neighbor? And answers, it is anyone in need whom we have the power to help. This call to active compassion resonates across traditions. In Judaism, Ahavat cheesed asterisk loving kindness is a virtue of empathetic action. In Islam, the asterisk fosters collective responsibility. The health of one is the concern of all. When we apply this to mental health, the message is clear. Our neighbor is the person struggling to afford therapy, the one facing endless wait lists, or the individual too ashamed to ask for help. Loving them means dismantling barriers, advocating for policies that make care accessible, ensuring no one is left wounded by the side of the road. Spiritual traditions call us to pay special attention to the most vulnerable, the poor, the marginalized, the forgotten. In Christianity, Jesus speaks of the least of these, teaching that serving the hungry, the sick, or the imprisoned is the same as serving Him directly. This reorients our focus, asking us to see divinity in the faces society overlooks. Who are the least of these in mental health? They are the ones whose struggles are invisible, whose pain is dismissed. They are individuals in under-resourced communities without care, or those incarcerated without support. They carry the double burden of stigma and isolation. This call to care is a shared duty. Jewish *Tzedakah is not charity, it is justice. The Quran commands compassion for the orphan, the poor, the needy. Caring for those with mental health challenges is a modern expression of this ancient duty, an act of justice that affirms every person's worth. While individual kindness matters, our traditions also call us to communal responsibility. The barriers to mental health care, stigma, cost, lack of access, are not personal failings. They are systemic problems requiring collective action. Faith communities are uniquely positioned to lead, creating environments of healing and acceptance. Stigma is perhaps the greatest barrier, a culture of silence where people fear judgment. The Hebrew Bible warns, "Do not place a stumbling block before the blind." Stigma is that block, preventing people from seeking help. Our duty is to remove it by fostering open conversations, educating our members, and challenging myths. This work is prophetic, speaking truth to power, advocating for change. Faith communities can become sanctuaries, partnering with professionals, training leaders in mental health first aid, ensuring vulnerability is met with grace, not judgment. For too long, mental health has been seen as separate from spiritual life, as if mind and soul were disconnected. Yet our deepest teachings tell a different story, a holistic vision where mind, body, and spirit are woven together. In Judaism, *Nefesh is the life force animating the whole self. In Islam, the Ra**, the divine breath, connects our inner state to spiritual reality. Christian theology affirms the resurrection of the body, confirming our physical and mental existence as part of our eternal identity. Viewing mental health through this lens is transformative. Caring for our minds is not weak faith, it is a sacred practice. Seeking therapy can be as much an act of faith as prayer, a way of tending to the sacred vessel we've been given. When communities embrace this, they empower healing without shame, recognizing that a just mind is essential for spiritual flourishing and deep connection with God and one another, building a world where every mind finds peace is not a distant dream. It is a present possibility, built on countless acts of compassion. It is a sacred duty, reflecting our deepest values. True equity in mental health is a testament to our shared humanity. Tomorrow, I will listen with an open heart, offering a moment of non-judgmental presence to someone who may be struggling. As we arrive at this point in our shared journey, we find ourselves standing together on the firm ground of a common heritage. We have traveled through the landscapes of ancient texts and the complexities of modern challenges, discovering a profound, unifying thread woven through them all. A deep and persistent call to justice, mercy, and compassion. This shared wisdom is not merely a historical echo, but a living invitation from the one God of all peoples. It offers a hopeful, tangible path toward a more equitable and harmonious world, not just for today, but for 2025 and beyond. This journey has been about connection, connecting timeless principles to contemporary life, and connecting with one another across the beautiful diversity of our faith traditions. We've seen how different voices from different times and places can sing the same song of justice. This final chapter is not an end, but a beginning, a moment to gather the wisdom we have found, to hold it up to the light of our present reality, and to chart a course forward together. Throughout our exploration, we have heard a consistent and powerful chorus calling for justice, not confined to one book or one prophet, but a universal principle resonating at the core of our shared heritage. In the realm of law, our traditions demand fairness and the protection of the vulnerable. The Hebrew Bible commands justice, and only justice you shall pursue. Deuteronomy 16:20, establishing a foundation for legal systems that are impartial and protect the rights of every single person, especially those who might otherwise be overlooked. This call extends deeply into our economic lives, as the Torah commands that the corners of the field be left for the poor and the stranger, a tangible form of wealth redistribution. We have reflected on the teachings of Jesus, who centered the poor and marginalized in his parables, reminding his followers that serving asterisk, the least of these, is to serve God directly. And we have learned from the Quran, which institutionalizes economic fairness through asterisk Zakat asterisk, an obligatory act of charity that purifies wealth by sharing it with those in need. These are not just ancient policies, but spiritual mandates challenging us to build societies where no one is left behind. In our social fabric, this unified call asks us to cultivate communities of respect and inclusion, to see the divine image in every person, to dismantle barriers of prejudice, and to build bridges of understanding, whether through the Jewish concept of asterisk Tzedek, righteous justice, the Christian imperative to love our neighbor as ourselves, or the Islamic principle of adl, divine justice and equity. The message is clear. A just society is one where every member is valued, protected, and given the opportunity to flourish. But what do these ancient virtues of mercy and compassion mean in a world of algorithms, social media, and digital anonymity? In an age where our interactions are often filtered through screens, the risk of dehumanization is real. We can forget that behind every profile, every comment, and every avatar is a human being with feelings, hopes, and struggles. It is precisely here, in the heart of our digital age, that mercy and compassion become more relevant than ever, serving as a counterbalance to the speed and impersonality of technology. Two powerful concepts from our traditions offer a guide: Rahmah from Islam and Hesed from Judaism. Rahmah encompasses mercy, compassion, and unconditional love, one of the primary attributes of God in the Quran. To practice asterisk Rahmah in the digital world means to protect the dignity of others, to refuse to spread harmful gossip or misinformation, and to communicate with a spirit of gentleness and understanding. It is the choice to be a source of comfort rather than conflict online. Similarly, cheesed asterisk, often translated as asterisk loving kindness, asterisk, is not just a feeling, but an action, a commitment to benevolence and active care for others. Applying asterisk cheesed asterisk online means using technology to perform acts of kindness, offering a supportive comment, sharing helpful resources with someone in need, or creating inclusive online spaces where people feel safe and valued. Together, asterisk Rahmah and Hesed call us to transform our digital interactions from places of potential harm into powerful platforms for empathy and connection. This circle of compassion naturally extends to those who are most vulnerable among us. A striking feature across our scriptures is the specific, repeated command to protect the marginalized, personified by the stranger, the orphan, and the widow. These were the people in ancient societies with the least social protection, and our traditions insist that the health of a community is measured by how it treats them. The book of Deuteronomy commands the Israelites to love the stranger. For you were strangers in the land of Egypt. 10:19, grounding justice in the memory of shared experience and empathy. This command echoes powerfully in the Christian scriptures, where the Apostle James defines religion that is pure and undefiled before God, as the act of caring for orphans and widows in their affliction. James 1:27. The Quran, too, is filled with injunctions to care for the orphan, to be generous to the needy, and to protect the vulnerable from exploitation. This is not a suggestion, but a sacred duty. It calls us today to stand with and advocate for all who are marginalized in our own societies: refugees, the homeless, the systematically impoverished, and all who are pushed to the edges. Furthermore, our shared responsibility extends beyond our human family to the planet itself. Our traditions teach that the earth is not ours to dominate, but a sacred trust placed in our care. In Islam, this concept is known as *Khalifah*, stewardship. The Quran teaches that humanity was placed on earth as God's vicegerents, tasked with protecting and maintaining the balance and beauty of creation. This means avoiding wastefulness, *israf, and corruption. In a parallel vision, the Jewish tradition speaks of Tikkun Olam *, the responsibility to repair the world. This powerful idea calls for active participation in healing and mending all that is broken, including our damaged environment. Both Khalifah and Tikkun Olam transform environmentalism from a secular concern into a profound spiritual practice, urging us to be faithful stewards of the precious gift of creation. Recognizing these deeply shared values is not an academic exercise, but a powerful foundation for action. The challenges facing our world, from climate change to economic inequality to social division, are too large for any one community to solve alone. Our faith traditions provide not only a shared moral language, but a theological mandate for interfaith collaboration. the Christian call to love our neighbor, the Islamic emphasis on working for the common good, and the Jewish drive to pursue justice all compel us to join hands with others who share these goals, regardless of their creed. This vision of collaboration is not a utopian dream. It is already happening. Around the world, interfaith groups are working together to build homes, feed the hungry, advocate for just policies, and protect our planet. When people of faith come together, grounded in their shared commitment to compassion and justice, they become a powerful force for positive change. This work is the living expression of our spiritual principles. It is Tikkun Olam in action, the embodiment of asterisk Rama for all of creation. This path forward is paved with hope. The optimism we find in our traditions is not a passive waiting for a better future, but an active, creative confidence in the possibility of a more just and peaceful world. It is the hope that fuels our work for justice, the hope that allows us to see the divine in one another, and the hope that assures us that our efforts, when aligned with the divine will for compassion and equity, can and will bear fruit. We are invited to be co-creators of a future where justice is not just a distant ideal, but a shared reality for all of God's children. Our journey together reveals that the call to justice is not a relic of the past, but a living, breathing mandate for our future. The wisdom of our traditions provides not just a moral compass, but a practical roadmap for building a world where compassion guides our actions and justice is shared by all. Tomorrow, I will look for one small opportunity to build a bridge of understanding or offer a moment of compassion, whether online or in person. As we arrive at this point in our shared journey, we find ourselves standing together on the firm ground of a common heritage. We have traveled through the landscapes of ancient texts and the complexities of modern challenges, discovering a profound, unifying thread woven through them all, a deep and persistent call to justice, mercy, and compassion. This shared wisdom is not merely a historical echo, but a living invitation from the one God of all peoples. It offers a hopeful, tangible path toward a more equitable and harmonious world, not just for today, but for 2025 and beyond. This journey has been about connection, connecting timeless principles to contemporary life, and connecting with one another across the beautiful diversity of our faith traditions. We've seen how different voices from different times and places can sing the same song of justice. This final chapter is not an end, but a beginning, a moment to gather the wisdom we have found, to hold it up to the light of our present reality, and to chart a course forward together. Throughout our exploration, we have heard a consistent and powerful chorus calling for justice, not confined to one book or one prophet, but a universal principle resonating at the core of our shared heritage. In the realm of law, our traditions demand fairness and the protection of the vulnerable. The Hebrew Bible commands justice, and only justice you shall pursue. Deuteronomy 16:20, establishing a foundation for legal systems that are impartial and protect the rights of every single person, especially those who might otherwise be overlooked. This call extends deeply into our economic lives, as the Torah commands that the corners of the field be left for the poor and the stranger, a tangible form of wealth redistribution. We have reflected on the teachings of Jesus, who centered the poor and marginalized in his parables, reminding his followers that serving the least of these, is to serve God directly. And we have learned from the Quran, which institutionalizes economic fairness through Zakat, an obligatory act of charity that purifies wealth by sharing it with those in need. These are not just ancient policies, but spiritual mandates challenging us to build societies where no one is left behind. In our social fabric, this unified call asks us to cultivate communities of respect and inclusion, to see the divine image in every person, to dismantle barriers of prejudice, and to build bridges of understanding, whether through the Jewish concept of Tzedek, righteous justice, the Christian imperative to love our neighbor as ourselves, or the Islamic principle of Adl, divine justice and equity. The message is clear. A just society is one where every member is valued, protected, and given the opportunity to flourish. But what do these ancient virtues of mercy and compassion mean in a world of algorithms, social media, and digital anonymity? In an age where our interactions are often filtered through screens, the risk of dehumanization is real. We can forget that behind every profile, every comment, and every avatar is a human being with feelings, hopes, and struggles. It is precisely here, in the heart of our digital age, that mercy and compassion become more relevant than ever, serving as a counterbalance to the speed and impersonality of technology. Two powerful concepts from our traditions offer a guide: Rama from Islam and Hesed from Judaism. Rama encompasses mercy, compassion, and unconditional love, one of the primary attributes of God in the Quran. To practice *Rama in the digital world means to protect the dignity of others, to refuse to spread harmful gossip or misinformation, and to communicate with a spirit of gentleness and understanding. It is the choice to be a source of comfort rather than conflict online. Similarly, cheesed asterisk, often translated as loving kindness, asterisk, is not just a feeling, but an action, a commitment to benevolence and active care for others. Applying cheesed asterisk online means using technology to perform acts of kindness, offering a supportive comment, sharing helpful resources with someone in need, or creating inclusive online spaces where people feel safe and valued. Together, Rama and Hesed call us to transform our digital interactions from places of potential harm into powerful platforms for empathy and connection. This circle of compassion naturally extends to those who are most vulnerable among us. A striking feature across our scriptures is the specific, repeated command to protect the marginalized, personified by the stranger, the orphan, and the widow. These were the people in ancient societies with the least social protection, and our traditions insist that the health of a community is measured by how it treats them. The book of Deuteronomy commands the Israelites to love the stranger. For you were strangers in the land of Egypt. 10:19, grounding justice in the memory of shared experience and empathy. This command echoes powerfully in the Christian scriptures, where the Apostle James defines religion that is pure and undefiled before God as the act of caring for orphans and widows in their affliction. James 1:27. The Quran, too, is filled with injunctions to care for the orphan, to be generous to the needy, and to protect the vulnerable from exploitation. This is not a suggestion, but a sacred duty. It calls us today to stand with and advocate for all who are marginalized in our own societies: refugees, the homeless, the systematically impoverished, and all who are pushed to the edges. Furthermore, our shared responsibility extends beyond our human family to the planet itself. Our traditions teach that the earth is not ours to dominate, but a sacred trust placed in our care. In Islam, this concept is known as Khalifah stewardship. The Quran teaches that humanity was placed on earth as God's vicegerents, tasked with protecting and maintaining the balance and beauty of creation. This means avoiding wastefulness, israf, and corruption. In a parallel vision, the Jewish tradition speaks of tikkun olam asterisk, the responsibility to repair the world. This powerful idea calls for active participation in healing and mending all that is broken, including our damaged environment. Both Khalifah and tikkun olam transform environmentalism from a secular concern into a profound spiritual practice, urging us to be faithful stewards of the precious gift of creation. Recognizing these deeply shared values is not an academic exercise, but a powerful foundation for action. The challenges facing our world, from climate change to economic inequality to social division, are too large for any one community to solve alone. Our faith traditions provide not only a shared moral language, but a theological mandate for interfaith collaboration. The Christian call to love our neighbor, the Islamic emphasis on working for the common good, and the Jewish drive to pursue justice all compel us to join hands with others who share these goals, regardless of their creed. This vision of collaboration is not a utopian dream. It is already happening. Around the world, interfaith groups are working together to build homes, feed the hungry, advocate for just policies, and protect our planet. When people of faith come together, grounded in their shared commitment to compassion and justice, they become a powerful force for positive change. This work is the living expression of our spiritual principles. It is tikkun olam in action, the embodiment of Rama for all of creation. This path forward is paved with hope. The optimism we find in our traditions is not a passive waiting for a better future, but an active, creative confidence in the possibility of a more just and peaceful world. It is the hope that fuels our work for justice, the hope that allows us to see the divine in one another, and the hope that assures us that our efforts, when aligned with the divine will for compassion and equity, can and will bear fruit. We are invited to be co-creators of a future where justice is not just a distant ideal, but a shared reality for all of God's children. Our journey together reveals that the call to justice is not a relic of the past, but a living, breathing mandate for our future. The wisdom of our traditions provides not just a moral compass, but a practical roadmap for building a world where compassion guides our actions and justice is shared by all. Tomorrow, I will look for one small opportunity to build a bridge of understanding or offer a moment of compassion, whether online or in person.